Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. We'll be talking about the challenges of doing business in Africa and how you overcome that pain. My guest is based out in Lagos, Nigeria. She's a notable fashion stylist, designer, and she'll be talking about her challenges and how she's overcome those to find her joy. So today, my guest is Jane Ekanem. She is the creative director of the Jane Michael brand. She's a creative visionary and super fashion entrepreneur whose brand has captivated most. She combines her sense of charm, sophistication, and attention to detail to create a unique look for her high-profile clients. Born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria, she's developed a strong sense of style and appreciation for fashion trends. She's harnessed her entrepreneurship abilities, selling clothes, accessories, and many things at the age of 21. In 2016, she was featured on CNN Africa, where she was determined to succeed at all odds and was brought to the spotlight. She was celebrated for her achievement in the fashion industry as the fashion stylist for the notable celebrities in Nigeria and around the world. In the same year, she was also recognized by Elo Award, where she was nominated for Fashion Awards and recognition for her combination in the contemporary fashion area. She's an author. Jane is a published author of April the 29th, a page-turning autobiography narrating of how she's built a successful story from a difficult foundation experience. She believes true success is bred from the place of, abundance, and continues to share her story to inspire others in hope in many young women who can relate to the episodes of her early struggles. I'm super excited to talk to her about her book, April the 29th, and also talk about her business and how she's overcome challenges to find her joy. Meet Jane Michael as she shares her wonderful story. Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's conversation is really shining a light on a country that most of you know about, one of the biggest in Africa, Nigeria. We'll be shining a light about some of the challenges you find when you're doing business as an entrepreneur and how you overcome those challenges to become consistent and successful. My guest will be telling us her own journey. As I said in my introduction, she needs no introduction at all because she's done amazing things. Her work speaks volume. She'll be telling us her own struggle and how she's managed to find her way in the fashion world. Meet Jane Michael Ekanem. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm great.
I'm really delighted to have you. I'm well, thank you. I'm really, honored to have this conversation with me today because, in your work, one of the key messages you keep talking about is that you hope to bring attention to Nigeria in the positive lights. And you just want to take away those unpleasant stories people have been sharing, people have been thinking about when they think of Africa, Nigeria in particular, they think all this negative, that it's not possible to do business in there. And not only that, you are also a widely accomplished fashion stylist, fashion designer, educator, and a creator. So your work speaks for itself. Jane, before we get started, who are you?
My name is Jane Michael Ekanem. I'm just a small girl who grew up in Lagos, who was born and bred in Lagos. I am a fashion entrepreneur, an author. I would also say I'm a philanthropist because I remember going back to my alma mater and giving back to students who found it difficult to fund their education, because I went through such during my teenage years. So that's basically who I am. I'm just a small girl who's doing great things.
So for anyone who don't know, what is it like growing up in Lagos, Nigeria? Because I want my audience who are globally around the world to understand the joys that growing up in Lagos, Nigeria can bring. Can you tell them what was it like growing up?
Well, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. So growing up in Lagos was pretty much tough. I know that if I was in a more developed country, I would be thriving with the amount of work I've put into what I am doing. And growing up in Lagos has also been, it's been a roller coaster, but then it's a good thing that, you know, at the end of the day, you tend to see what you've put in work for at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's very true, because it's a place that when you put all this hard work, eventually something starts coming out of there. Fashion. I can see you're very fashionable. Where did you get that influence? How did you think, fashion is something people always ask about fashion. I think fashion is something that you have to have a desire for it, because even if you're going into it as a business, it's still a business. But if you don't have the desire, you won't understand why you struggle in the beginning, because it's quite a hard sector to begin with. Why fashion?
Yeah. I would say that this is an inborn thing. It's a natural thing for me. I'm very passionate about fashion. My siblings told me that when I was much younger, I wouldn't wear clothes without a matching handbag and shoes. So, and I remember at the age of 4, I had started designing my own pieces until I evolved into being a fashion designer. I started off selling silk knots, which is still fashion related, cufflinks and silk knots, before I started selling clothes. And then I went into styling, and then I evolved into being a designer. I didn't learn all this trade from anyone. It was just an experience that I was growing with gradually. And here I am today. So I'll say fashion is inborn. I've been fashionable, or I've been passionate about fashion since I was a child.
Wow. And is there any experience that you can look back at it and think, oh, were you always the best dressed? Were you always competitive in that way, that you wanted to be the best dressed in school? If there was a party going on, would you always want to make your own outfit and make it so unique? What were some of the signs that you saw that made you think, no, definitely, I love fashion too much?
For me, I've never ever been the competitive person. I'm not a competitive person. I'm not the type of person who is dressed to stand out. Well, if I'm dressed to stand out, that's a plus. But I'm an advocate of comfortability, and uniqueness. I'm also an advocate of class. So I'm not big on vogues, on what is in vogue. I'm bigger on how long and how classy this is, how classic these pieces are. So I know there are times, even before I went into fashion as a profession, when I'm going out with my friends and they don't look well put together, I put clothes together for them. While I was selling clothes, I put the designs together, I put the pieces together for people without even knowing that I was styling. So for me, that has just been that paying attention to what you look like has made me understand that this is where I belong. This is who I am,
A question I have to ask you is that you posted on Instagram about Serena Williams inspiring you greatly. You said, I watched one of her documentaries and broke down in tears as she radiated incredible self-belief, even as a child. Can you share why this meant so much to you?
It means so much to me because story, you could tell that her father had put in so much work into them. He had invested time into his children, and they weren't born with this, from a wealthy home. And Serena was able to put that all together and make something out of it. And it's very relatable to my own story, where you start from nothing to becoming something. So it was pretty much emotional for me. And at the time when Serena wore my piece, it was like jinx. This is what I am called to do. It was a very big deal for me. And I would not talk about Serena Williams wearing my piece without giving credit to Laolu, the artist. He made that happen.
Well, that's wonderful. Because your hard work really paid off, not just your belief and your, your look into Serena Williams. You really, not that paid off because you briefly talk about it. She was inspired to wear one of your outfit, and that is very unusual. So someone you really say, this is someone I really like, this is someone I love their belief, I love their struggle, very similar to mine. And all of a sudden realizing that in the Essex magazine, September 2019, Global Fashion Month issue, bam, Serena Williams wearing your feet. How did that make you feel though, when you saw this?
It made me feel good. It made me feel good. It made me believe that all the stress and all the pain will be worth it eventually. It made me understand that you should just keep grinding and being consistent at what you do. You would eventually make it. I didn't see that coming, but it happened. And it happened because I didn't give up on myself. It happened because I kept on pushing. It happened because it was meant to be.
Let's go back. Let me take you back to your university days before you launched the Jane Michael brand. How did university, because a lot of young people think, okay, I'm going into this launching of a career, I want to start fashion, it's something in my passion, like we discussed earlier. But how did the Jane Michael brand really help with being at university?
The truth about it was that I had already started business before I got into school. I was deep into business, and my mom was very persistent about me going to further my education. So I wouldn't particularly say that I was driven to go to study more or to study further. I was actually forced to study further, and because I just wanted my mom to let me be. So I had to do this for her. And like, okay, mommy, I've given you the certificates that you need from me. And now it's time for me to face my life. I'm not discriminating school. I'm not saying that school is not worth it. I'm not saying that it's not deserving to be educated. But then again, for me, it wasn't a criteria or it wasn't a priority to where I was, because I was already in the business before I went back to study furthermore.
So Jane, I have to, doing business or any kind of in any sector in Nigeria can be particularly challenging, especially when it comes to sourcing the fabrics, getting staff, getting the material, getting electricity to run 24/7. Many people don't understand that this causes lots of pain, it causes lots of challenge, and a lot of people tend to give up when they think about all this hurdle that is in front of you just to do business. And even if you're successful, so for example, you get a bulk order, you might not be able to fulfill your order because you might not be able to source the materials, you might not be able to do things accordingly. Can you share the difficulties that came with running a business? Because I just want people to understand that it is also challenging. What were some of the struggles you had to go through in running a business?
For me, running a business, the most challenging aspect of running a business was the artisans, the tailors. It was very difficult for them to interpret my imagination, and there were many times, almost all the time, I remember I have to make a piece twice because when they don't make it right, and I'm a perfectionist, I wouldn't want to see the stitch lines being loosened or being torn in some places. We have to make it twice, and that's double expenses, that's double cost of production, that's double fueling, that's double funds for labor. It's pretty challenging working in Nigeria and dealing with artisans. And most of these artisans are not educated. So it's also very difficult sometimes to communicate with them. But then again, patience is key. You need to be patient with these people. You treat them like babies all the time, and that's how I've been able to huddle through the whole process of production here in Nigeria.
And for female entrepreneurs, a lot of them, I know a lot of women look up to you because they can't believe that you stayed consistent to your dream, and your dream did happen. And look, Serena Williams wearing your outfit for a cover shoot. That's just truly amazing, because I mean, that was like the whole world got to see it. As a young female entrepreneur, what are some of the painful challenges that you want to encourage women in particular, that they could do this and still overcome barrier? How did you overcome your barriers?
Consistency. You know, every experience has its own story, has its different story entirely. And there's this rule I have in production: someone has to take the blame. Just make sure you're not the one who is taking the blame. So, because most times, more often than not, 99% of the times, something goes wrong during production. It could be from the stylist, the makeup artist, the tailors, you know, it's a big deal. So for entrepreneurs or for female who are into entrepreneurship, I'll tell you to keep going. You know, it's not going to be easy. Anyone who told you that entrepreneurship is sweet and smooth is telling a big lie. You know, there are days where you'd cry, and then there are days where you definitely smile. But then again, for every time you want to give up, just look back at yourself and think of where you started from. You'd realize that you're not in the same place where you are, and just keep going till the light shines.
You are also an author, and you just released a book. And
yes, I have.
This book is such a powerful book. Can you tell me a lot about your book?
My book was written out of, first, I wanted to tell my story to the world and making people believe that anything is possible regardless of where you are. So I was compelled to write my book. My book is about resilience. You keep pushing, you keep working. I remember there were times where we had accommodation problem as I was a little girl, and that's not a very good environment to groom a child with. You know, my mom staying separately from my dad. You know, at some point I had to be with my dad. At some point I had to be with my mom. You know, not being groomed by both parents is almost the most difficult thing anyone can think about. But then again, I was able to rise above it all and become who I am today. And I know that my story is very relatable to a lot of people who are struggling out there. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to go through the exact same hurdle I went through. But then again, you know, it's encouraging, and it encourages you that regardless of where you are at, and the situation of your life is not permanent. It can get better, it can get worse, depending on your mindset and how you approach life to it.
When you look back, you know, with the whole pandemic, everything that's gone on in the world lately, the world has got a whole different meaning. You know, the way we do business, the way we see things, the way we also the empathy bit as well, because the way we treat others as well, because you realize that COVID has taught us that no one's life is unimportant as anyone's else. In building your business, when you look back, what are some of the lessons and things that you will look back at and you want to improve on to make your future business keep progressing forward nicely?
For me, it's pretty much different. The experience is different because at the time where we had the pandemic, you know, we still have the pandemic, but when it was very severe and there was a general lockdown, I had a severe mental breakdown. And, you know, I'd been using the whole year of 2020 to heal, you know, from the process of what I went through. The thing about Nigeria is mental health is not really paid attention to. You know, it's still very new to some people in this country. So for me, my business, I wouldn't particularly say that I evolved in my business because I was paying attention to my mental health at that particular time. And it was a lot for my parents, my family, being someone who my parents looked up to, my mom especially, I lost my dad, being someone who my mom looked up to and seeing that now she has to be the one to take care of me. And I thank God for having such an amazing mother, and I was also able to go through a therapy, seeing a psychologist, and to help me heal through the process. I'm happy that my comeback has been embraced and I haven't been forgotten. And this is just what I have to say about the pandemic for now. But then again, it has really changed how people run their businesses, how people envision things, what you spend on, the needs and the unnecessary things. You now have the time and the mind to decide which is better for you. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
You put it in priority order. Yes. No, Jane, I really understand that, because I think the pandemic really shined a light to so many people, like where you feel.
Yes.
You have to really realize what's really important. Is it you working so hard, or is it just you also looking after your own space? Because a lot of time our goal was always, let's just keep achieving, let's get to the next milestone.
Yes.
Don't we forget that we're human? We're not machines. That even machines break down. Machines break down. People forget that. And I'm glad that you shared that very vital story of yours, because so many people around the world, including Africa, where we don't really talk about it much, in Nigeria as well, we don't talk about it. We still have a stigma attached to it, but it's not. It's something that we need to talk more often about. So let me go back to your book, because I just remember, if someone wants to read a copy of your book, how do they get a copy of it not just in Nigeria, but around the world? If they want to get copies of your book, how do they do it?
It's on Amazon. But the soft copy and the hard copy is on Amazon. So you can buy my book April the 29th on Amazon.
Okay. So you heard that. Jane Michael's book will be out April 29th. So stay tuned for that. And I think our conversation will actually be out around that time. So I'll be very delighted to see soft copies of your book and share with my friends as well. You have a love for I saw this riding motorcycles, and I was like, where did that come from? Is this something that how did you get that passion from?
I'd say my love for sports cars and speed is is pretty high. It's it's a dangerous sport, I won't deny that. But then again, it gets the adrenaline pumping, and then, it's a lot of work when you ride. Your mind, and, you have to learn to calculate fast, you have to know when to maneuver, you have to know the speed limits, and but for me, riding, I picked up riding because I love speed. I love the swag. I like the fact that I'm different, wearing my kits, my helmets, and getting to your destination and taking off your helmet. And they're like, oh my God, she's a girl, So I like the attention as well, and riding a bike came from the passion of speed, being free. But that's it.
No, that's really marvelous, because I would not think about that. But what you just said about just the speed and the calculation, the maneuver, you have to be careful. You have to think about these things, and this is one of the adrenaline drive which you get from it. What message would you give to your audience on how to overcome difficult times and come back stronger?
You have to speak to someone you trust. You can't do it all alone. You just can't. I pray that you find the right person to speak with, when you're going through your down times. And I want you to know that you are not alone. It's not rosy. It's not as easy as people make it seem on the gram. But then again, if you have the right people, the right network, the right support system, you'll be able to thrive. You'll be able to thrive through the whole process. And that's the message I have for you.
Finally, you've always utilized words from Mark Zuckerberg, Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, Mo Abdul. Each time you're about to give up, you say you bring up these calls and you look at how they've kept motivating themselves and kept, never giving up. They say, well, every time you feel that, okay, I am frustrated and I'm teary, weary, suicidal, delusional, you remember these beautiful words from these, very influential people.
Yeah.
How have this kept you grounded?
It has really kept me grounded. It has helped me in ways I can't even explain. Looking at Oprah's story, I remember when I went through Oprah's story, I said to myself that if Oprah can do this with one head, she doesn't have two heads on her neck, I can do it. So for every time I think of giving up, I think of where I'm coming from. I think of where I want to be, and I forced, to keep moving.
Jane Michael, I really appreciate this time. And what next? What's coming up in your new collection? What next? And anyone who's looking for your collection, where can they get it?
For now, we are still working on that. I can't let the cat out of the bag, sadly for now. But then again, I know I'm writing a second book, especially based on the mental health aspect, my journey through it, what I went through, the exact things I had to do to come out of it. This should help a lot of people to understand that it's okay to break down, but then again, it's not okay to stay right there. You can rise from where you were, and you can rise again. No matter how many times you have fallen, you can rise. You can always rise again.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate this conversation with you, and I wish you all the very best in everything you do. Thank you.